I will not abandon the people I love most.
It's a matter of life and death for the entire world.
Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. My name is Jeff. That's my friend Gerald. I survived COVID and the end of Titans season 4 this week. Gerald, we both survived it actually together. So give me your initial thoughts on the end of the series that we have known to love and complain about for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what we've been getting the past 5, 6 years. Like, there's no step up. If you were expecting this season to answer a bunch of questions and actually make sense, um, you're probably not very happy right now. If you went in expecting exactly what we got the past several seasons, then you're fine. Because the status quo did not change. All the OP characters in this team, starting even like Raven, Beast Boy, Superboy, anybody, Starfire, they find ways to nerf them. And by nerf, like just make them way weaker or just take them out of the equation completely when they are so obviously the answer, you know?
Yeah, I think more than any season, the budget constraints were on full display here. And it is unfortunate that, you know, I don't know if they went out on their terms. I doubt that this was probably their last season that they had in mind with the villain that they had in Brother Blood and like a retread of Trigon. But more than anything, like especially with Beast Boy, you saw where he, had that hallway fight that we were talking about where he morphed into every animal that we've ever seen him morph into, and then he was a tiger the rest of the time where they just took him out of the equation. But I felt that they kind of tacked on an ending here, and was it satisfying? Not really. Was it good to kind of get some sort of conclusion? I think yes, because the flip side is you get a show like Swamp Thing that was just canceled unceremoniously, and you didn't get an ending. So I do
Which
like
showed up
that
in this. Which
he did
showed up
show
in
up
this
in
season.
this.
That like this show was just weird, and I think it's and like me and you talked about it. It's a very dark take on Titans, right? On to Teen Titans, which is generally a funny kid show. It's what it is. What it's known for, and it's a darker take on it. However, with that darker take, should have came sustenance that made things scary, that made heroes and villains both scary, terrifying, and also powerful. And you don't get that at all. While you're being told how fucking terrifying Trigon is for the better part of 4.5 seasons, he has a total of like 3 minutes screen time, and he dies twice from both of his children. One of which didn't know he was a demon's child until he was like what 32. So it's not like he
Yes.
was walking around with these powers for 30 fucking years. That's where like there's no sustenance. Like it tells you it's a big scary show. It uses the f word um, multiple times. It uses blood and gore and stuff to get you into that mood. But whenever you're like, I'm ready to dig into this world and find out more about its characters, it's like, well, here's what they're like in bed. You know, here's what Robin and Starfire would be like if they woke up next to each other. Here's maybe here's Robin having a boyfriend for once. Here's this and that. Like they're just so in love with like it's like they're CWizing a horror show when
It is
in a
like
way reading it R. You know.
Yeah, it is like the most unnecessarily R-rated property I've ever seen. Just because
Yeah.
when you think of Teen Titans, like you said, it's light and it's fun, and you think of the cartoon from the mid 2000s and Teen Titans Go. If you would have told me that they were going to make an R-rated version of this where Robin says "fuck Batman" and whatever we got in the first season, I would have laughed at you. I'm not going to lie that I did like a lot of the Bat Family stuff throughout the run of this show. Like I really dug Nightwing. I do think that
Mm-hmm.
this is the best version of Dick Grayson we've ever gotten on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I did like some of the Red Hood stuff as well. And I like that we got to see Kieran Walters one more time before the series wrapped up. But the other characters, I don't think were ever really fleshed out.
No, and like that's fine. And like the thing is like you're right. This is probably the best on camera, on screen Nightwing we've ever gotten, right? Outside of anything animated or games. Um, and that's there's not a lot to kind of pick from there either, though. At the same time, but it was very like he brought some of the animation style to life, which was great. Um, and like you said, the Bat Family stuff was good. It did kind of pick and choose where it wanted to keep canon stuff canon, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like comic accurate stuff. It kind of just picked and choose from here and there. Didn't want to make a whole lot of sense at times. But the Bat Family is the only thing that they never nerfed either. Like they were always the same power abilities. Like they, I mean, not power levels. There was never like, oh well, Nightwing isn't able to do his jumps arounds right now, or he doesn't have his shock sticks. Like it was
yeah,
never Robin doesn't have his suit, or Robin doesn't have his. It was just like, oh, they have their shit and they're ready to go at all times, right?
yeah,
Never nerfed. But Starfire consistently having her powers taken away, not knowing her full extent of her powers, forgetting her entire identity. That's just a consistent thing with her. Raven went from being dark haired and demon to being white haired and like a pacifist, which kind of goes with their character, but not really. I mean, Raven is a darker character, which is why I'm fine with this take. Like, if they want to go and do a darker action Titans, that's fine. Because Raven's character, at its core, is a darker character. She is the son of a demon. Like, it's okay, and she's one of the main characters of a team, so it makes sense to go darker with it. But that's not where they went. Their darker was just allowing them to say fuck every 5 seconds. And believe me or not, fuck is in the top of my vocabulary all the time. But like that doesn't make me want to go see something. Like, oh great, I get to see Robin say fuck, fuck, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. Like if I wanted to hear that word, I'd go watch South Park all the time.
yeah,
Like it's fine if we don't have that. But they just didn't do it. And like again, Starfire was nerfed. Beast Boy was only a tiger up until this season when he got his own episode, and that was probably the best episode of the second half of the season at least. And then we get this really badass hallway fight that didn't really actually happen. Spoiler alert, because it was kind of a dream in the red. But like we still got a badass hallway fight, and I don't get it, and I kind of want to go deeper into that episode as well. But
yeah. Well, let's go deep into it because that was the best episode
mhm,
and probably the standout episode of the entire season. I would say.
mhm.
You get Beast Boy going into the red, learning his true path in life, which is the protector of the red. He enters the multiverse, I guess, or whatever the multiverse is, to this version of the DCEU. You have Grant Gustin's Flash show up, you have Swamp Thing show up, you have Beast Boy from Teen Titans Go, and a whole bunch of other stuff in there. I liked it for what it was. It was very file video-y, though, where
Oh,
you knew that
absolutely file video. Like
it was,
nothing was shot for this, right? Like,
yeah,
like
except for the
they were just
Stargirl
like
thing, I
the
think.
Stargirl thing was shot for this probably, which was really weird to me because like Stargirl's been canceled for like a year. So like they really had that young child actress come back and shoot something for a show she would never act in again. Like,
Well,
I mean, I
happy
don't know.
she's
Maybe
still
she
getting
just wanted
work.
the extra. Yeah, I'm glad she's still getting work, but it's just like it's kind of screwed up, don't you think? Like, hey, we're not going to bring you back for a season 2, but like, can you just come shoot this real fast? Like, we need 5 minutes of your time, tops. It was that was interesting to me too because acknowledging the CW universe in this, which the CW universe did acknowledge this already. This the Titans universe kind of already had a cameo in the CW universe in the ending of the Infinite Earths, like the Crisis on Infinite Earths. That whole on the whole CW what is it 6 episode long special.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, it's a 6 hour long movie, is what it is. But in that, the entire multiverse ends. Like this world ended, all these other world ended, and then Oliver Queen, Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen, becomes this god who rebuilds the universe, but then puts Summers back on his Earth and all this other shit. So like, but at the end of it, it was understood that like the world, the universes had to be rebuilt, and there was one as of right now, and Stephen Amell is Spectre, and he is God, and he is recreating the multiverse. And now that Titans is assumingly after that, Or in this acknowledging the DCU, right? Follow me on that. Acknowledging the DCU. At what point do we acknowledge the fact that Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen is now the multiverse god for all DC universes?
Well, that's why we opened it up to James Gunn on
Like,
Twitter.
I'm gonna need James Gunn to answer this because, like, and I mean, like, I can see all these different. I know, like, the comments are gonna come in. People are gonna be like, "Oh, different things, different," but like, different excuses that could make sense. I don't want to believe in any of them because, like, I guess you could use the excuse that like Stephen Amell is like the specter of his universe, but not every other universe. But then also, like, in that one, they talk about how every other universe was destroyed, and if every other universe was destroyed, I don't know. Like, none of it really makes sense because in that one they also had DCEU Ezra Miller's Flash come into it. So like it's a whole cluster f
There's
of
a lot
confusion,
of there's a
right?
lot of shit. There's a lot of shit that doesn't make sense. Like the Ezra Miller cameo, I doubt pays off next month in the Flash movie. And then you also have a cameo in that same CW crossover of Robert Wool as Alexander Knox from the 1989 Batman series in there as well. So
Mm-hmm.
how big of stakes the CW universe really has is probably
Probably
a
none.
question.
Yeah.
Probably none. Probably a question we'll never get
Yeah.
answered. Uh, when it comes to the grand scope of this show and its universe, which includes this and Swamp Thing and Doom Patrol, I don't think it's going to be as memorable as the CW Arrowverse, but I do think that there were enough good things in the DC darker version of whatever the fuck this is that I would recommend it to
Let's just
people.
call it the DC fuck universe
Yes, because
because
people
like
do
because
that a lot.
that's like their big thing, right? Is like, hey, we can say fuck in this universe, so
Yes,
let's do it. So it's the DCFU.
yes.
For short. So that's what we're going to start calling it here at BOQB, DCFU. Um, the DCFU is now dead, I think, officially, right? Like, this is done now, and it's probably for the better. There were some great things. Nightwing, it was pretty damn good. I actually kind of liked Cyborg. Beast Boy was fun. I just wish they showed him in different animals more. I liked the Raven casting and actress. Starfire was an interesting twist on the character. Like, I really loved damn, what's his name? In Doom Patrol. Brendan Fraser as what's his name? Is it Robot was his name? I can't
I
remember his
don't
name.
really watch that one, but I do know
That
who
one,
you're
but
talking about.
that show was actually very fun because I'm not a comic, like, I've never read Doom Patrol comics. I don't ever plan to. I just they're not. I've never really been that interested in them, you know. But the TV show was kind of fun. I'm not gonna, like, it was just fun,
Yeah,
and also Brendan Fraser was funny as hell and
and
has
there's
some
one more
really
season of
good
that
character
left
moments.
too that hasn't
Yeah,
come out yet.
so I guess we still have a season of that. So we still have that going for us too.
Yes, we do. Uh, well, when I come to ranking this show on our scale, and I'm talking about all 4 seasons of this thing, there's a lot of factors I'm going to take into it. Number one, the Nightwing shit was great. The Red Hood stuff also was very, very good. They had an old man Batman who I hated, and they never showed Superman. Deathstroke, I thought, was done very dirty in this show, where he went out like a huge bitch. But that is a conversation actually for now. And there were some good things. There were some bad things. All in all, when you add all the pieces together, I would give this show a starter on the box office QB scale. I think that's being very generous. I think that there's a lot of things that held it back, but like a 7 out of 10, a starter for me. What about you?
It's a starter for sure. I think though, like, more like a 6.5, 6 out of 10. Um, for if you love superhero stuff, like, yeah, and you like to see TV shows about them, it's good. Like, it's not the worst thing you can watch. There's some very obvious, like, just writing cliches they use, almost like AI wrote some of the script, but that's okay. You still get to see Nightwing. He's a main character, so it's still like that gives you 5 points off the bat, right? And Nightwing was very good in this. So, absolutely, still a starter at the minimal.
Yeah. Going forward in the DC EU or whatever this new DCU is going to be, I would like to see more interconnectivity, which I think we're going to get. And I hate when like DC says you can't use a certain character and then they kill them off, obviously, on the TV shows, which happened with Lex Luthor this season, happened with Deathstroke. So I hope that that's not the case moving forward. Anything else you want to see in the future of this new DCU run by James Gunn?
If you do any TV shows, don't touch the Bat family unless you're going to allow Batman in it.
Yeah.
Batman does not need to be a main character in a Nightwing or a Batwoman or any other show from any other Batman family character. But, like, he needs to fucking be there. And it can't just be some old guy in a white button up who looks like he's never lifted a weight in his life.
He looks like Alfred.
Yeah, he looks like I dead ass thought he was Alfred the first time on scene. I was like, oh, I like him as Alfred. No, he was Bruce Wayne. Like I was like, no way in hell. He's supposed to be 6'3", broad shoulder, and look like he can beat up a man, not 6'2" and like just scared, like skinny or 5'10", not even 6. Just let the like and stop teasing us Superman's boots. Like let him in a fucking TV show for 5 seconds. It's fine. You can use file footage. It's gotten so blatantly obvious that they're doing that. It's getting annoying, you know? Like 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't that obvious. And then they released the show Gotham. And I think that's when it just released the floodgates when everybody was like, oh, this is happening, right? And it's just becoming increasingly more obvious since. So I want to see that to stop.
Yes.
And I think James Gunn would stop that.
Yeah, we're not going to get confused if there's multiple versions of Superman. Everything's going to be okay.
Not even that. It's fine if you bring the real one in and you have him there for 5 seconds. Like, if you sign up to be Batman in this new DC universe as an actor, you have to understand that you're going to be in everything.
Yes.
And you're going to have a hand in it all. So you have to be willing to do that. Like, the new Batman, the new Superman too. They're both going to be like that.
Yeah.
You know? You thought you got a heavy dose of Robert Downey Jr. the past decade and a half. Wait until we get a new Batman run by James Gunn.
Yeah, that fucker's going to be everywhere for sure. 100%. But yeah, we could go on and on. Another good episode of us venting about what we liked and didn't like on the DCFU. But this has been another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. I'm Jeff. That's Gerald. We'll be back with family talk this weekend with Fast and the Furious. But until then, like and subscribe. Follow us on social media. You right here on YouTube. All that good stuff. We will talk to you guys very, very soon.
Breaking news. They just announced there will be a part 4, 5, and 6 to Fast and Furious.
Thoughts and prayers.